Hello friends, welcome to my channel here at Tekis. This is our Angular 21 tutorial for beginners part 20. So in this video we can do the complete redaction using reactive forms with the FormArray concept. For the design we can go with Material UI. Finally for the API we can use JSON Server REST API. Let me start the implementation. So the first step is we have to create one brand new Angular application. Let me open the command prompt and we can provide the command ng new and our application name. I'm providing Angular CRUD. Let me execute the command and we can use the normal CSS. No need to use the server side rendering and also no need to use any AI here. Okay, application created successfully. We can open in the VS Code. Code space start. Okay, fine. So in this application, we can create the required files. So first I'm going to create the components. Okay, ng generate component. I'm going to create one home component first. So next for our concept, I'm going to use the customer logic. Okay, so we can create one new component with the name of customer. The component name is customer list and we are creating in the folder of customer. Okay, so the same way we can create one more component for the add screen. Fine. So next we can add this component in our routing side in our route.config file, not a config, app.routes file. We can add our routes one by one. So first I'm going to include this home component for the initial load and then customer. So here we can map our customer list component. Fine. And finally, we can include our add customer. So the routing side we have done our changes. So next let me run this application. The command is ng-serve. Let me open here localhost. Okay, here we can see the default template and also see this text. It is coming from our component. So next in our app component, we can remove the existing code. I'm just keeping this router-outlet and removing all other content. Okay. Now if you look at here, you can see the text coming from our component only. We are working for the customer, so let me provide. Okay, that's fine. So next we can install the Material UI package here. So since we are installing new package, make sure stop running this application. The next execute the installation command. By providing Y, we can continue the installation. And the theme we can choose the default one. Fine. The next for the API, we have to execute this command npm install -g JSON server. So that means we are installing JSON server globally in our machine. So this step already I have done in my machine. Okay. So next we need to run our API. So before that, we have to create one new file, one JSON file. Okay. So that JSON file will act as the database for this JSON server concept. So inside the source folder, I'm creating one more new folder, okay, data. And here we can have one new file, db.json. That's it. Okay. So in this file, I am defining one object, customers, and initially we can provide one empty array. Okay. So next running for this API, going to open one more new terminal. There we can execute the command JSON server watch db.json. This is our API endpoint. So in case if you want to run our API in the different port also we can try. So time being we can have this one. That's fine. Okay. So next for our implementation purpose, we can create our model. Inside the app folder, I'm going to have one new folder with the name of model. Okay. So here I'm creating one new file, customer model. So here we can define our model using this export interface option. Here the interface is nothing but model only. Okay. Here we can define all the fields one by one. The first one is customer code, then name, the contact information, email and mobile number, and then remarks. Finally is prime, just for identifying the prime customer. The data type is boolean. For the address, we can include multiple delivery address. Provide address. For the data type purpose, I can create one more interface. Okay. The name we can provide delivery address. So here we can provide like array, format it, and in this delivery address we can have city, country, and zip code. Okay. If needed some additional field also we can include later. So currently we can have like this. Okay. Okay, fine. So next we can design our form. We go to our add customer component. Okay. In this component side, first I am importing reactive form model. Okay. I am just defining our form builder using inject option. We can inject our form builder here. Next, defining our form, I am just providing form. So here we can define all the fields one by one. The first one is ID. So the default value we can just provide empty. Okay. And also we can make this field as disabled. So we can provide like so the next field is name. In this name field we can provide the default value as empty and adding one validation, the required validation. Okay. So the next field is email. So here also we can provide the default value as empty. In this email field I'm going to add two validations. Okay. So I'm going to use the compose option, adding required validation and email validation. Next for the mobile number, and just to provide mobile, that is fine. Start builder and default value as empty. I'm just marking this into required. Okay. So the next one is remarks. Remarks, no need to include any validation and default value as empty. Next for is prime. So the default value, let me provide true. Okay. But finally, address. Okay. So here you can provide like array. We can have one empty array initially. That is fine. Let me format it. So now our reactive form is ready. So next for the design, I am going to use the material UI component. So make sure we need to import all the required models here. Right, this image is included, it's not needed. So basically I will use 4 to 5 components regularly. So let me include everything one by one. So the first one is mat card model. then mat form field model, right? Then mat input model, similarly mat select, that is for using the select control, then mat checkbox model for using the checkbox, then mat button, so finally mat icon. Next, in the HTML side, removing everything and adding this mat card and mat card header, right? And here we can have add customer form. Maybe instead of providing the hardcode value, we can define one variable here, title. Okay, and we can bind this title using the interpolation. Fine. Next, we can include all the fields one by one using the mat form field. And here we can use mat label. In this mat label, we can provide customer ID and only input field. So here we can have mat input directive initially, mat form field. There is some spelling mistake. Okay, fine. So the same way, I'm going to add other fields also. One small space. Customer name, then email, then mobile number. Okay, and remarks. In this remarks, we can use text area, and we can use the same directive. I removed everything. And finally, for the checkbox control, we can use like that checkbox. And text we can provide is prime customer. Now, if I look at the UI, add customer. Okay, look like our application not in the running mode. NG sir. You see, all the controls are included, but the design not looks good. So we can add some custom CSS here. So first I'm going to override this mat card, mat MDC card. I'm providing the width 90%, and we can include the margin also. So margin space is added. Next, for this form field, so width we can provide 98%, and we can provide the margin 1%. Okay, it is coming like, let me check in the HTML side also. Mat card header, then should be mat card content. Okay, see, all the controls are moved to the next line. So here, for the optimization purpose, we can have two controls in the same line. Let me define one more class, mat 50. So here we can provide width 48%, and margin we can give 1%. Okay, so the same way I'm defining one more class, mat 25. So the design you can handle in your own way. Okay, so I'm just following these all the steps. So next, in our HTML side, in this form field I am including mat 50. The same class we can include for this customer name and email as well, phone number. So remark we can have the lengthy field. you know. Okay, this is looks fine. So next for the delivery address section, in this bottom I am going to have one more div, and here I am just adding one h1 element and saying delivery address. That's it. Okay. For this delivery address, we have to generate our controls in the dynamic manner. Okay. So next what I'm going to do, let me map our reactive forms with our this HTML area. I mean this designing section. So what I'm going to do, let me have one form tag. Okay. And whatever design currently we are seeing, I'm just moving inside the form. Okay. So next in this form, we have to include form group. So there we can provide our exact form. Okay. So next for the individual controls can include form control name. So the first field is ID and the second field is name and third field is email and the fourth one is mobile. We verify. So if you look at here, we defined our control with the name of mobile only. Okay. And for this text area, form control name, the name is remarks. So finally for this checkbox is prime. Finally for this delivery address, we have to use form array name. Okay. In this form array name, we have to mention this address. That's it. Okay. Now if you look at here, see the first field got disabled and this checkbox is checked, and the required field we are able to see this star symbol. If you not entered, see, it is changed into red color. Okay. So next in this design point of view, we can have our save button here. I'm going to put in the top. Okay. I'm adding one button, normal HTML button only. We can provide the name is save customer, and here I am including one directive mat button. The type we can use this filled option. Now if you look at here, the button is showing here. Okay, so maybe I can move this into right side. So I'm going to create one more class. Okay, header and margin 2%. Different. So finally, in this mat header section, I'm going to have one more div. In this div, you can have this header section, moving everything inside the header. Okay, so now it is looks fine. So since we have the button, I'm just making the type is submit button. Okay, and in our form section, we can have one event ng submit and having one function save customer. The next in our TS side, we can define this function. Okay, so here default we can check like if it is valid. So here we can call our API or we can write our own logics. So currently what I'm going to do, let me capture the form value in the console. Okay, we can verify this one. Once it is good, we can work for our delivery address section. Okay. Providing some number. Once I click to the save customer, see, we are able to get this email ID, prime, mobile number test. So the ID in the disabled mode, so we are unable to get this. Okay, that's fine. So next, as I mentioned, we can focus on this delivery address. For this delivery address, first we need one getter function. Okay. So here I am just defining the getter function. I can define in the top itself. Get address list. So here we can return like as form array. Okay. Now we are able to access this form array, and here we need to add the controls dynamically. So I'm going to have one more new function, that is add address. So here you can use the same address list and pushing new set of controls. Okay. So here also we can use form group. Okay. In this form group, we need to add the respective controls. So the controls we can include based on our models. Okay. So the concept is like this. This is one of the object. Okay. And we have this address. Address is an array. So inside the array, we have a multiple object. So those objects are our delivery address only. So here we need to declare three fields: city, country, and zip code. Then let me define everything one by one. City, so here also we can include the validation as well. We can have the same validation and everything. Finally, zip code. Fine. Okay. So the same way for the removing also, let me create the function. In this remove time, we have one parameter index and data type is number. So based on the index, we can remove it from our address list. Okay. So next we need to bind all those controls in our HTML side. For that, let me take this address list once again. Next in our HTML side, we have this address block, right? So here I'm going to have one more div. In this div, can add a class header. I'm going to move the title here. And also adding one button. So here we can say add address. And make sure we need to add the directive mat button. And in the click event, we can use this add address function. Trust me, not address list. Okay. Add address. Fine. And also we are using this button inside the form. I'm going to use the anchor tag only. Okay, fine. Next, for generating the dynamic controls, I'm going to use set for then address list dot controls. We need to access our index. So fine. So inside of the loop, I'm going to have this mat card once again. So the same way inside the mat card, we can use mat card header, mat card content. Okay. So inside the mat card header, I can have one more div tag, and here I can have one h2 tag and saying address. The index value will start from 0, so we can provide I plus 1. And here we can have one more button. I am using this anchor tag only for the remove. So here also we can have our mat button and binding this click event. So here we can use this remove address and make sure we need to pass the index, that is important. So now if I look at the UI side, once I click to this add address, see the new section is created, right? It's having one remove button also. So next, make sure we need to add the respective controls also. In this mat card content side, for the reference, I am taking this. So here only very important thing, currently we are accessing this form array only, okay? In this form array, we are making a loop. Inside the form array, we will have the form group. Next in this form group only, we will have this control. So then in this case, first we need to bind our form group. Form group name. Okay. So next inside the form group only, we have to provide this form control name. The first one is city. Okay. And the next one is country. Here we can provide mat25. And the final one is zip code. Now if you look at here, see, it will show like this. Maybe I can make everything in the same line. 25. Now see, we'll get our controls like this. For this country, I'm going to use the drop down list. Okay. So then our control name should be match select. And can use this form control name here, and no need to have this input here, right? And in this mat option, you can say select country, and in the value you can provide the empty value. Okay. Next we can bind the countries in the dynamic manner. So I'm going to have one array countries. Next in this HTML side, we can generate the for loop using this at for. For the standard, instead of the item, we can provide the standard name, just a country. So those value, we can bind it here. Using this interpolation, I am binding this country. Okay, some spelling mistake. Fine. In this value, we can use the property binding. In binding the same value country. That's it. So now if you look at the UI, see, I can add multiple addresses. Okay. At the same time, once I click the remove, it will work. So now we can enter some values. The mobile number. Okay. At the same time, you look at the console. Now if I'm clicking this save customer, there is no value binded because we have some mandatory field here. Some numbers. So now if I click the save customer, see, we are able to see the complete information. If you look at the address section, see, we got the two values. Similarly, if I'm adding one more record also, we are able to track all those information. Okay. So now we have done all the changes from the form side. We are able to get all those value. Okay. The next thing is make sure we need to save this information in the API side. Okay. For handling the API, we need a services. So let me create the service file. I'm opening one new terminal, right? ng generate service, and we can create in the folder of CRUD, and my service name is master. Okay, the service file is created. So next in this service file, I'm providing the base URL. The base URL is nothing but our API URL only. Okay, I just added and formatted. Next, creating the functions. Say customer, and before that let me have the constructor. Here I am injecting this HTTP client for accessing our API. HTTP client, fine. So here we can use this HTTP, and my method is post method. So in this post method I have two parameters. The first one is API URL and then our parameter. In this parameter we will have one data, and the data type is customer model, fine. And let me pass it here and format this one. So the same way we can create some other function also for doing this update and delete. In this update time we have to use put method, right? And we will have another one parameter, that id. So id is the key value. So that id we have to pass in our URL. Okay, yeah. Format it. So the same way we can create the function for delete customer. In this time we can have only one parameter, that is id, and HTTP verb we can use delete, and there is no additional parameter. We can directly pass through the URL itself. Okay. Next we can write two get functions. One is get all customers, right? The get method we need to pass this base URL only. So the same way we can have just get customer. So in this time we will have one parameter, that is id, and it should be get method. Okay, in this get method we will know the return type. So we can mention here right, one is array and another one is for object. So next in our component side we can inject these services. So we just injected. Next in this save time we are just calling this one. In this save customer, let me confirm, yeah, save customer only. So here we need to pass one parameter. So before that let me declare one variable. And we are converting this into customer model and passing this value into our API function. So we can subscribe this one. Since it is the fake API, if there is no error, then we can consider as the pass. Okay. So here I'm going to provide one alert. Customer created successfully. And also in this success scenario, we can simply redirect it into our listing screen. So in this scenario, we need our router. Let me inject the router as well. So once it is succeeded, navigate by URL. So here we need to provide customer. Okay, now let me try this one. Add customer. Okay, Rajesh, and some remarks, and adding the address. Okay, can have a single address. Let me try this one. Okay, we got a message. Customer created successfully. Once I clicked OK, it is simply redirected into our customer listing. So now if you look at in our JSON file, in this data section, see, one new entry is created and the ID also generated here. Okay, the ID we not passed, it's the auto generated field. Okay. So the next thing is make sure we need to bind this value in the UI side. I mean in this customer list we need to bind this. Okay, let me start over here in this customer list. In this customer list, first we need to access our API. Okay, so I'm going to define one variable service and injecting this master service here. Fine. Okay, so next declaring one variable customer list, and data type is customer model array. By default we can have an empty array, and creating one new function, get customers. In this function we can call our services and accessing this get all customers function. Let me subscribe this one. In the subscribe time we will get the data, so that data can assign to our customer list. So next we can call this function in one of the hook. So we need in the initial load time, right? So ng we can call this function get customers. Okay, next for the grid also I am going to use the material UI controls only. Okay, so make sure I need to import the required models. Mat table model, the first one, then mat pagination model. The pagination is needed. Okay, then we will use the button, the mat button model. Then in the icon, mat icon model, and we can have the frame mat card. Okay, we can have this much, it's fine. So next we can define one array for displaying the columns. This is empty array, so here we can provide ID, name, email, phone, and finally we can have the action for just showing the add and delete button, and declaring one more variable for the data source, mat table data source, and here we can use this customer model. And finally, in our get customers function, we will have a customer list. I am going to assign this value into our data source. So this data source equal to new mat table data source. This dot customer list. Okay, you can format this one. Next, in the HTML side, I'm going to have same mat card, then mat card header, then mat card content. Fine. So in this header side, we can have add button and also the title. Maybe we can take it from here. Okay. Can use all the CSS also. So this title I can define it here. Customer listing. And in this button, instead of save, we can provide add customer. Okay. And this type also we can provide just a button. And here we can bind on event. I mean on click event. Add customer. So then this function, let me define it here. And for the redirection, we need a router. Let me do the redirection. Okay. Not a customer. Add customer. And make sure we need to add all the CSS as well. Now if you look at here, okay, we have a frame and also this add customer button. Once I click, it is coming to here. Okay. So in this form also we can have one close button. Maybe I will add later. The time being, we can just use this one. Okay. Now we are in the listing, right? The next in this mat card content, we can have our table. Okay. And here I'm including this mat table directive, then adding the data source. Okay, the value we have already on variable, this data source. Okay, we just send it here. The next we can define the table header row, then table body row. Okay, we can include mat header row, then mat header row definition. Here we need to add our display column. Fine. So the same way we can include for the table body row as well. So next we can define the individual columns using this ng container. Here we can include mat column definition. First column is for ID. Okay. So here we can include the th and the td. Okay. In this td section, we have to include mat header cell definition, and we need to provide our column name, customer ID. Same way for this td, and have this mat cell, and for this mat cell definition, finally in this td section, we can bind this ID. Okay. Okay, fine. The same way we can include all the columns. Okay. The second column is for name. We can provide customer name, and the binding value also name, right? Then email. The next one is mobile number. Can verify here. And we provide us phone. Phone. Here we can say It's mobile only. The next one is prime. Yes, the prime. So in this scenario, so based on the true or false, we can bind like yes or no. That's it. And the final column is for action. So in this scenario, we have to show our buttons. I'm going to include true buttons. Outline, edit. Okay. Maybe I can include one icon as well. Then it will be more effective. Edit. So the same way, I'm going to have one more button that is for delete. Fine. Okay, we can verify in the UI side. The header section is not loaded. If I checked in the console, we have one issue. Mat header cell definition is not a known element. Okay, it should be mat header row definition. See, now it is fine. For this button, we can have some space, percentage, and in this delete also, I'm adding on hardcode CSS. Okay, now our grid looks fine. We may include some more records and we can verify the pagination also. So meanwhile, we can continue for this edit screen. In this edit screen, first we can bind on event here in this button, in this click event, and add edit customer. Okay, and here we need to pass one parameter, that is our key value ID. Okay, next let me define this function as well. And for this edit also, I'm going to use the same component. So what I'm going to do, let me define one more route here, and we can provide the name is edit, and make sure I'm passing ID as parameter. Okay, okay, let me verify. Once I click this edit, so now we are in the edit screen. So the next thing is make sure we need to access this ID in our component side. So based on this ID value, we need to fetch the individual customer information. Make sure we need to populate in our existing form. Okay, we start my change in our add component here. First, let me declare one more variable here, that is edit. By default, I am providing false. Okay, that is my first change. So next, adding one hook. NC. So in this hook, we need to access our ID. For that, we have to use activated route. Activated route. Okay. For getting this value, we can get like edit ID equal to activated route snapshot, then parameter map the parameter. So the parameter we have defined in our router section, that is ID only. Okay, and we have to provide like this. Okay, so now we can check this. If it is not equal to null, in this scenario we can consider this edit should be true. Okay, and also in the title we can provide like can provide like edit customer form. Okay, there are two changes. So finally, we can have one more new function, edit data. It's the new function. We can call this function as well. Let me pass this ID, not ID, edit ID. Next, we can declare one more variable here, that is edit data. Okay, and the data type we can provide customer model. So initially, it don't have any value. So next, in this set edit data function, we can call our services, and there we can access this get customer function and passing ID as the parameter. So we can subscribe this one. So here we will get our response. Once we have the value, we can assign this into item. Since we know the data type, we can specify here customer model. Okay. So finally, once we have a value, we can assign the same value into our reactive forms. Set underscore form. Okay. Using set value, we can define this one. Okay. First, we can assign for this ID. Okay. Then name. Next, email. Add missing property. So default we have provided null. So then we can provide the actual mobile dot remarks is prime. Finally, for this address, we can keep as the empty array. We have to make one big change. So before that, initially we can keep like this one. Now see here. Oh, nothing is worked. Let me verify it. Okay, there is a spelling mistake. Now we can see. So the data are loaded. In the customer ID, we can see this data and the customer name, mobile number, email, and remarks. This primary also it's loaded. So in case if I'm changing this value from our database, that means our JSON file only. In case if I provide false, see once I refreshed, it is not checked, right? Okay, this is loaded. The next thing is we have to load this address as well. Okay, let me go back to our code. I mean in this component side, we go to our add customer section. I can remove this debugger, it's not needed. In this set edit data function itself, first I'm going to check this dot edit data dot address dot length. If it is having some data, then we can generate the for loop. Okay. In this scenario, make sure we need to create the dynamic rows and also need to assign those values. Okay. So what I'm going to do better, I'm creating one more new function. That is update address. So here I am going to have one parameter. That parameter is our not a customer model. I can say delivery address. Okay. And we can assign the value here. Data.city, data.country, finally data.zip code. So now we can call this function here. Okay. Now see here. The one row is added here. Let me refresh it once again. Okay. So that means we have loaded all those records. Next, we have to work for the update functionality. In the same button itself, we have to work for the update. So before that, let me include two icons in this add address and remove for the better look and feel. First in this add address mat icon, add. Same way for this remove, delete. And also I am adding one style color red. Now see here, look and feel. Somehow it's fine, right? So next, as I mentioned, we can work for the update function. Okay. In this update function, it's very simple one only. We have this save, right? So here I'm going to check one more condition. If is edit. In this scenario, we have to write the code. Else scenario, so we can keep the function. Okay. In this edit time as well, we can copy the same code. So instead of the save customer, we can call the update customer. Okay. So in this scenario, we have to pass two values. One is the data, that is fine. So additionally, we have to provide the ID value. Okay. ID look like we not maintained globally. So in this case, I'm going to declare one more variable again. Edit ID default empty value. In this scenario, edit ID. So here also you can use this. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. So next in our save function, we can use the same ID here. At the alert message, we can say customer updated successfully. We refresh the screen once again. Okay. So here, what I'm going to do, let me include one more address. The country, let me choose USA. Zip code, I'm providing some numbers. Okay. And remark, update customer. Let me save the customer updated successfully. Once I click to OK, it is simply redirected into our listing screen. Here the data is not loaded. Let me verify. In this console side, we are getting one error. The location underscore customer list. That is our component only. And it is saying expression has changed after it was checked. Previous value is undefined. The current value is having some object. Let me verify. We never declared all the variables. We have provided the value except this data source. Okay. Here we can create the object. Okay, fine. Let me refresh and verify once again. Okay, still the data is not loaded. At the same time, the error got resolved. Let me verify them. I'm just added one debugger. So here, if you look at here, we have a single record. Okay. So even though in this data source object also inside the data, we are able to see this entry. Okay. But it is not reflected in our HTML side. Okay, so now I got it. The reason is currently we are using Angular 21. There is no zone.js. For the change detection is not happened. Okay, so what we can do, instead of using the normal variable, we can go with signal based variable. Okay, so here first I'm changing this customer list into signal variable. So the initial value should be empty. Okay. So next in our get customer function, here we can use this set option. Since it is the signal, we have to use like, okay. The next assigning value for this data source we can do inside the effect. Let me use the effect. The effect also from this Angular/core. Okay, so here we can assign this value into this data source. So this dot customer list. So let me format it now. Now the data is loaded. So maybe I can create one more new record. So the same way, let me include more address. Now we can save this one. You can see customer created successfully. In this listing side, we can see the 2 entries. Okay. So now if I edit this one, here I am just changing this city into entry mark updated and unticked this is prime customer. Let me say once again. I can see this text customer updated successfully, and in this listing we can see the information. Prime customer is no. The remarks we are not showing here. Okay. So next we can work for this delete functionality. So this delete functionality we have to handle from our TS side itself. First let me write this function delete customer, and it will have one parameter ID. The data type is string. So here we can ask one confirmation. So we can provide one JavaScript alert only. Okay, I mean JavaScript confirmation box. If it is confirmed, we can proceed for this delete. In this case, I am going to call the services delete customer. So here we can pass this ID as parameter. I'm just subscribing this one. If the API call there is no error, we can consider this as the succeeded scenario. And I'm providing one alert. Removed successfully. And make sure we need to refresh our API as well. Okay. In this case, so we can call this function once again. Let me refresh the screen. Now I am trying to remove this first record. I just created this function, but it is not binded in our HTML control side. Now we can do this one. In this click event, we can bind this function, and we are passing this ID as parameter. Fine. So now if I click to this one, we got our confirmation box. Are you sure to delete? Once I clicked OK, customer removed successfully, and it is reflected in our UI also. So now we have done the basic redactions, like we have loaded all those records and we are able to create new customer, and we can edit the customer, and also we tried this delete. Okay. So additionally, what we can include in this listing screen, we can include the pagination, and also this add screen, we can include one back button. First, let me add the back button here. In the top, we can have this button, right? One more button here. So here I am going to have one div tag. And I'm moving this button here, right? And then adding this one more anchor tag and providing the text as close. Here we can provide this mat button is outlined. Here we can include the router link. We can provide customer. Okay. And very important thing is, if you are including this router link here, make sure we need to import it here, the TS side. Okay. Anyway, this one also done. Let me save this one. Now if you look at here, we are able to see this close button. Once I click to this close, So now we are in the listing screen. Similarly, if I click this add button, okay. So next for this pagination in our listing control side, after this table we can include mat paginator, okay. And here we can include page size options. This kind of array only we can provide like 5, 10, 20 and 50, and the other properties like so first and last buttons we can provide true. Next in our TS side, so make sure we need to import this mat pagination model thing. Already I have done. Yes, it's done. So next for accessing this paginator we can use the signal based view child. Format this one, and also let me make this as required, right? So finally in this effort section, so here only we are assigning the value also, right? In this place paginator equal to start paginator. Since it is signal based, we have to provide like this. Now see, we are able to see this pagination. For verifying this one, maybe I can include some hard-coded values in our db.json side, okay. And we can change this ID just for keeping the unique value. Okay, now we are good. Let me refresh the screen. And now we have a 6 record. So in the initial page we are showing 5 records. In this next page we have a single record. Okay, fine. So the same way we can include the sorting and filtering also. So that I have done in my previous videos. I have added the video link in our description. If required, you can watch it. So now we are in the end of the video. Still, if you have any doubts or clarification, please post in the comment box. And also please don't forget to subscribe my channel. Thank you. Thanks for watching.